What's up, everyone? This is the SSFFL podcast. Thanks for joining me. I'm your host, Chuck. We've got a great show for you today. I've got my second guest coming on today. His name's Jeremy. And we're going to talk some sports today, some fantasy football stuff. And we got a good show, like I said. Without further ado, I'm going to admit him in here and we'll get started. What's going on, man? Jeremy,
Yo,
how's it going, man?
good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah.
I'm really excited, and really appreciate the time that you're giving me to come on here and do a show with me.
Yeah, man.
So I know that you filled out the questionnaire. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, so we won't do that first. But let's just go into the new coaches. So I shared the topic with you about the new coaches. Obviously, the NFL has been bouncing coaches around here and there. We know some new hires that went to different teams. I mean, is there any team specifically that you wanted to discuss that just comes to mind, or do you want me to give like a team out there and you kind of just break it down and what you think what the hire is?
What the Jets did with Robert Saleh coming from San Francisco, that's probably the best one thus far. I mean,
Hmm.
that's under the radar, I would assume. Urban Meyer, of course, is the big name, and then
Yep.
that guy Brandon Staley, who came from via Chicago through LA Rams, now going to the Chargers. They literally have to pack his box up and literally go to the other side of the stadium now. So with the Chargers, that's another big hire too. But it's defensive guys with young stud quarterbacks potentially.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Those are all good. The one that comes to mind for me has got to be the whole Jaguars hiring of Urban Meyer. I mean, you know that they have the first round pick this year coming up. They're obviously more than likely going to take Trevor Lawrence in the draft.
100%. They'll take Trevor Lawrence or something.
I don't see how they can pass up on talent like that. They're calling this guy the next coming of Andrew Luck. So there's no way that you can pass up on a guy like that. You know, Urban Meyer obviously has links to Ohio State because he coached there for so long, but I don't think he coached Fields at all. So he doesn't know really much about how he plays, and he's not going to go over Fields over Lawrence just because he went to Ohio State. I mean,
Zach Wilson out of BYU. It's not happening.
Yeah, and the other one, the Jets one that you were talking about, the Robert Saleh one, I don't know how I feel about that one. I mean, I think he's a really great defensive coach. In the NFL, I guess it's hit or miss with the defensive-minded coaches out there. One that comes to mind for me is like Lovie Smith. Obviously, Lovie Smith was a great coach for the Bears, took them to a Super Bowl, many playoff appearances. He was considered a defensive-minded coach. That's really the one that comes to my mind. I mean, we'll see how it is, though. You know, the Jets have the second-round pick next year, and it's going to be interesting to see what route they go on as well because, you know, they're sitting here with Sam Darnold, and they're also sitting there with the second-round pick that they can take like Fields or another quarterback. But do they want to give Darnold another chance, or do they just go in there and, you know, draft a quarterback?
Nope.
What do you think they're going to do?
You build around Darnold.
I mean,
you take the Oregon, or if you can't trade down, you're the Jets. If you can trade down, that's number one. Number two, if there's no receivers for, Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, doesn't blow them away if there's no virtual combine that they're going to do apparently now, which
Right.
they're going to go to a pro day anyways, and the combine is just the underwear Olympics. It's no big deal. But you draft either Sewell, Perry, or Kenai Sewell from Oregon. You trade down, maybe you get a Devonta Smith, someone like that to pair with Darnold. But in my opinion, Darnold's only 23 compared to Zach Wilson or Justin Fields. He's a better prospect still, even with a new coach coming in.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a really tough position. I mean, but I agree. I don't think that with Darnold's age, I don't think that he's really has gotten a chance to prove himself yet. The offensive line is atrocious. So like maybe use that pick on an O lineman. Like you said, maybe use it on a wide receiver, someone like Devonta Smith. If the LSU guy is still on the board, Jamar, is his name Jamar, right?
Jamar
LSU,
Chase.
Jamar Chase. If he's still on the board, maybe take a swing at him too. I know that he opted out of the season this past season, but he's still the number one guy that's out there in terms of wide receivers. After the season he had along with Burrow at LSU, 2 years ago, I mean, he's still going to be up there as a top wide receiver off the board. So it's kind of going to be hard to pass on somebody like that, but we'll see what they do. It's going to be interesting offseason, to say the least. So let's go right into the next topic that we wanted to discuss. So let's talk about the draft. So we're talking about these coaches, going to different places, different teams, signing with different teams. And then obviously there's still coaching positions that are still out there. But the draft is coming up as well in April. I mean, the one thing I wanted to kind of discuss was, like, for fantasy purposes, who's like the, top three, let's say top three guys at each position. We'll go quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and maybe a defensive player. We talked earlier and you said that you're kind of a little knowledgeable on draft and whatnot. So I kind of wanted to get your opinion on who you think that should be at the top right there on those positions.
Top in Dynasty and you have your first pick. I mean, I don't know how you can't go Trevor Lawrence, number one.
Yeah, for quarterback, he's got to be number one off the board, no doubt.
I don't know. With running, Justin Fields, you have to see where he goes. I'm not a big Ohio State, Alabama, USC. I'm a Notre Dame fan. Don't want to have a Notre Dame quarterback. They don't work, especially now. There's too much talent. Maybe they have a pro line, receivers, running backs. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, Fields to me, it's a bust. I don't think he's going to work out, and he's going to fall in draft boards. And measurements are going to come out, and he's probably going to be 5'11", 6 foot, or 6 foot, something like that. So I like the kid from BYU, Zach Wilson. He's like 6'2", 230. The kid's been or 230, but he's a solid 6'2". So he's got the measurables for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Matt Jones,
So
not Alabama either. Out of those, I mean, if you want to do three, you might put Fields there just for running ability for fantasy wise, but he may not even start year one. He's probably going to go to developmental, where he'll learn under a veteran for a year or two, and then he might see the field, kind of like what Jalen Hurts did last year.
Fields, yeah. There's something about Ohio State quarterbacks that really scare people. I mean, let's go back, a few years to Dwayne Haskins. Everybody kind of got mad or upset for the Giants, drafting Daniel Jones over Haskins, but go figure, like, a couple years later, like, none of those guys are really doing much for their teams. I mean, if anything, Daniel Jones had a little more success so far, if you want to even call it that. But, like you said, something about these Ohio State guys, they just sometimes do not pan out for the quarterback position. And I mean, I kind of like Trask from Florida. I mean, he didn't have a very good game for the bowl game when they played in it recently. So that could be a big, let's not go that route with teams, but because they might see that he doesn't produce in like big time, situations. But the guy's numbers are great and they're there. I mean, for me, somebody like that, I would take over like a Justin Fields. That's who I would put him over Justin Fields. I mean, hands down, Trevor Lawrence is the best guy in the draft. Number one overall quarterback, number one player overall. But next to him, for my quarterbacks, I got to have Trask up there too. And onto, go ahead.
I'll give you a spoiler alert for something later. We'll use that out in the open for later. But when it comes to the tight end position, I think you know where I'm going with that. But I don't know. I mean, it depends where these guys get drafted to, and if you have any bridges and stuff. I mean, we're predicting stuff in January where these guys are going to go in April. But
in all honesty, go right into the tight end position because I'll be 100% honest. I don't know a whole lot of the tight end position out there right now. I really don't look into tight ends a whole lot before the draft. I just kind of look at who's coming off the board when the draft gets closer. But if you want, just go right into it and give me your top, 2 or 3 guys.
There's only one rookie tight end that's worth drafting, and he may be a late round pick in some fantasy drafts, but Kyle Pitts is a man. That dude's like legit 6'6", 250, and is probably going to run a 4.5 if not faster.
And what schools he at?
Florida with Trask, which he made Kyle Trask look good this year.
Okay.
Watching a lot of Florida football.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, as a Bears fan, I would love to see somebody like Trask try to come in and throw to Kmet. If he really loves tight ends, you could use that. You actually use our second round pick for something. I mean, we draft this guy and we don't even use him. So, I don't know. It's frustrating being a Bears fan sometimes, but can't get into it a whole lot because I could literally talk about that for an hour on a podcast. So yeah, moving on to the other positions. So, running back. What do you got at running back?
I mean, the biggest one is probably Najee Harris from Alabama. But again, running back pro line. Travis Etienne. I mean, again, they're just talking. They got some both ends. I mean, depending on where he goes, he might be another James Robinson. He may not be drafted. Well, he'll probably be drafted, but I can't think of his name from Buffalo.
Buffalo, yeah. I mean, if he's from Buffalo, then there's a chance that it could turn into another James Robinson situation. But that Najee Harris is obviously the best guy in the draft for Alabama, especially what he did on the big stage for the championship game. I mean, he definitely has the most talent out there out of all the running backs. So, what are your defensive guys? Do you have any, top maybe linemen, defensive linebackers, cornerbacks? Doesn't have to be one from each of those positions. Just like maybe 1 or 2 guys from the defensive side that you think that are the top ones in the draft.
You're probably your best DB in the draft is going to be Patrick Surtain, the second from Alabama. That's probably your best bet there.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a Jair Alexander when it comes to man-to-man defense, but he's going to be a top probably 10, 15 pick himself.
I'd imagine that a lot of
coming out,
I'd imagine a lot of like Alabama guys and a lot of maybe even Ohio State guys, especially on like the defensive end, are probably going to be drafted pretty high. I mean, anytime a team gets to the championship game like that,
Yeah.
they're going to get noticed more by scouts. So,
Alabama,
so
they're going to have the 8th round, which will be a
did you get the name of that guy that you're looking up from Buffalo?
yeah, that's who it is. Jarrett Patterson.
Okay,
Kid
that's a
is
name to keep in mind then.
FBS.
Yeah, I'll definitely
And
keep that name.
he might 4th or 5th round somewhere out there because I mean the NFL still doesn't running backs are a dime a dozen. So and he was running for 400 yards in a game, and granted it's against FBS schools, but still that's 400 yards against anybody is crazy.
Hmm. Sounds good. So, yeah, that
It's not really a big defensive draft. I mean, they've got there's Rousseau, who's an edge guy from Miami. He's ACC talent there as a sophomore. So he's young. He might be, a project or two. He might just be coming in on 3rd down. Other than that, there ain't a whole lot on defense.
well should be pretty interesting for fantasy purposes then, if that's the case, because obviously we want to see those guys that are out there for all the um all the drafts with the keeper leagues and the dynasties and all that stuff. So should be pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to the draft. That's one of the things I look forward to pretty much every year with the NFL is a draft, just to see um, where the top guys go, because they do actually come in and have some fantasy impact right away on certain teams.
It depends where they go. I mean, system guys. I mean, your New Orleans, your Kansas Cities, your New England, they're all gonna be a system guy somewhere. They'll find a way to showcase their strengths and
Mm,
and get the best out of them.
absolutely, yeah. So that concludes that section for us. That was pretty awesome. Talk about all those different players that are out there. We're on to the next section now, and this is the questionnaire that I had set up for my guest. So I have your questionnaire up here right now. The first question said, "What does SSFFL stand for?" Your response was maybe that you knew what it stood for. So, you want to explain a little bit about your answer there?
Well, it's just SS could be a lot of different things. It could be Save Our Ship Fantasy League. It could have been,
Mm,
something like that. But I figured, either being, I don't know if you're a White Sox fan or not, but I think you got your Cubs shirt on today, so that kind of nails it down. But
yep.
just depending on what the SF is for.
So yeah, it stands for Southside Fantasy Football League. So this podcast was basically started for the purpose of promoting the Southside Fantasy Football League that I am currently in. It was a league that we developed 9 years ago that we started, and we've been playing with. We've added some guys here and there throughout the years and stuff, but we've been playing with the same, people for more than like 5 or 6 years now. And it's just a cool league that we did. This year we're doing some new stuff. We got a trophy, got some award ceremony that is going to be happening this Thursday that I'm going to be giving out for certain people. So um, this podcast was developed for that specifically, but obviously fantasy football is so big that everybody that wants to be a part of it is obviously encouraged to do that. And that's exactly why we have you on today, Jeremy, because of that reason alone. So thank you again for joining us. And the second question, it says, "What year did you join fantasy football?" Your response on here says 2003. So that was about 17 years ago. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
talking probably cool or so is when we first started that. So I mean, fantasy football's been around. It didn't get really mainstream until about maybe 2000s or so, 5 or
Hmm.
6. But you get your early, redraft leagues on ESPN as like a freshman, sophomore in high school. So
Wow,
once you found out about that,
wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool because I thought that me and my buddies were in this like almost at the beginning too, but obviously fantasy football was still around before we started. And for us to be started in 2009 till now, that's 11 years. I thought that was pretty, long, but to meet somebody
yeah,
else that
that's
been
something
in
like
it,
20 years ago.
right. So that's cool to meet somebody else that's been doing this for 17 years. That's pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie. Um, then the next question said, how many leagues are you currently in? So you chose the 1 to 2. So
Mm-hmm.
are you in one or are you in two leagues?
I'm in two. Um,
Okay.
I've got the one that we were all involved in, which I got snaked at the end, just like last year. But it is what it is. Man. It's fine.
Hey man, it's
I'll
fantasy
take
football, right?
I'll
It's you
my
win some, you
one pay.
lose some. Yeah.
And then I have another league that I have a couple of high school buddies that were a part of it, and we used to, draft for fun and do stupid stuff like a water bet, and stuff like that. Whoever has the
Mhm.
lowest amount of points, you have to dump water over your head or something like that. Probably I
Yeah.
didn't have to do any of that this year, but I think we were 8-5, 9-4, or something like that with a early, again an early round playoff exit because of some anarchy going on by some Kansas City players, but that's all right.
How that other league that you're in, how long have you been in that one?
About 4 years, 4 or 5 years now.
Okay. So two leagues, but you kind of just been joining like different leagues every now and then, every other year or
Yeah.
so.
I don't really do leagues so much. I do a little bit more mock drafts now, just to,
Yeah.
you know, pen to paper, just to see where some guys are going, see, the oddballs where quarterbacks might go early, but
Mhm.
you never take a quarterback early. That's step one.
Yeah.
That's fantasy football rule one. Don't take Patrick Mahomes. Don't take Lamar Jackson. They ain't gonna work. Get
Yeah.
your running
That
back depth.
tell the people that drafted them this year with taking Lamar Jackson third round, Pat Mahomes in the
Yeah,
first and second round. I
I mean,
mean, Mahomes didn't
good, but he's not gonna throw 50 touchdowns every year.
know, and they saw that this year the hard way, but they found it out the hard way. But like, I mean, he didn't burn people because he still produced, but he definitely didn't get you back like the value that you would have gotten if you took, you know, like a I don't know, another running back in that position or even like a, you know, Darren Waller or something. But I mean, even Waller was really down there this year too. Like I got him in the seventh round in our draft, and Waller had some great value this year. But there's so many issues with tight ends right now. It's ridiculous. Like you have Waller, Kelsey, and Kittle when he's healthy, and that's about it. I mean, everybody else you just throw them in there on a good matchup.
But they score a touchdown. That's the truth. They're all touchdown dependent for the most part.
Exactly. Yep.
And Mark Andrews from Baltimore, I don't know, he struggled with Lamar Jackson this year. When Jackson can't throw, it's rough. But
Yeah, but that was all this year too, and that's the problem with Lamar this year. His
him too, and he came out and then everyone's on the waiver wire trying to get Goddard, and then Carson Wentz is fumbling and throwing interceptions and all that stuff. So he was hurting a lot of people too. So
exactly crazy season though, to say the least. With the whole COVID situation and whatnot. So if you were able to get a championship, those of you out there, I mean, kudos to yourself because this year was crazy. So you definitely deserve it. And the next question says, what is the name of your most creative fantasy football team and where did the inspiration come from? So this talks about the looks good on paper team that you currently have for our league. Now, I believe our league is called like the Chicago Bears League or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's probably a work in progress. Like, I don't think it's gonna be named that forever. Like, especially if the same guys stay in this league and we continue it throughout the years, we'll probably get a better name for it. But um, basically, you want to, just give me a little insight on why you picked that team name?
It looks good on paper. If it looks good on paper, it's normally fantasy producers. So,
Mhm. So
uh,
basic, simple stuff, but it's simple and creative at the same time. I mean, it's not like you have to come up with something super hard or super like weird or whatever just to get somebody's attention. I mean, literally, like people go into different leagues and they name themselves the Lions or like the Bears or like something like
I'm not
really
I'm not
generic.
silly anything like that or keeping it vulgar or whatever like that. But I've had other names like Win or Die Trying, something like that. But
Yeah, my team name this year was Remember the Titans. I had most of my inspiration from Derrick Henry himself. He's one of my favorite players, and it's because I had him. I think the last 2 seasons, and he's just been dominating so much in the last couple years. But I just appreciate like a running back like that just gets the ball and just runs with it, runs trucks guys over. Like it's entertaining to watch stuff like that.
the amount of contact that he takes, if he can stay healthy for 16, he stayed healthy for the last 2 years, 16 games every year, ran for 2,000 yards this year.
Right, right. 2,000 yards, first time I think since Peterson, I think is if I'm correct on that. But yeah, it's the only thing is that I mean the last game of the season, week 17, was not a fantasy game. So when he rushed for like 200 yards that game, it didn't mean anything for fantasy, but it obviously added to his stats and it put him over 2,000 yards. Um, but I think it was 15 and 16, weeks 15 and 16. Um, he was mediocre. He didn't lose the game for you, but he didn't really win the game for you either for fantasy purposes. Um, but all season long, he was healthy and he was productive. And the last 2 seasons, he's been that way. So I don't see how he can go into next year and not be one of the you know top three guys
He's
off the
top,
board.
he's top 4 right now.
I mean, give me
If
your
you're
top
looking,
five. Give me your top five running backs right now for next year for fantasy. Comes to
I
mind.
know he last year, and I don't know if Carolina was playing. We just paid you, we're gonna protect you. But CNC Christian McCaffrey, man, he's still number one. I mean, that dude, he catches, he obviously could run the ball. He could probably do 1,000 in each category with you know
Mm,
12, 15 touchdowns on top of that too. So he's
mm,
probably still a consensus one. I mean, you can probably say a couple other guys, are in that category. Um, my two probably is, as of right now, is Alvin Kamara.
right.
With New
Yep.
Orleans, same thing. Especially if you're in a PPR league or even half point, that dude's got to be, considered for number one if you're scared of all the injury history that McCaffrey had last year. Three, probably Dalvin Cook. Give me some Chef Cook at three. I mean, he doesn't really catch the ball, but he can with that offense. Kirk Cousins, if they're trailing from behind, if they're playing quarters, that he can, just sneak out in the flats and maybe take it, a little bit or screens or something like that. I don't know. 4 and 5, that's tough because you got a returning Saquon Barkley. Hopefully, Zeke Elliott can come back, a little bit too.
Yeah. Honestly, go ahead.
Depending where Jones goes, if he stays in Green Bay or if he goes somewhere else
Yeah.
via free agency. Um,
I was just gonna say like Aaron Jones to me is a top five running back, no matter where he ends up. I mean, with Green Bay, obviously his value is gonna be higher, but I can easily see him going to a different team and producing. So I agree with most of your picks. I would take McCaffrey a little lower. His injury just scares me because, I mean, the guy was he was producing when he was playing last year, but he only played in like 2 or 3 games. And I mean, he was averaging 25 fantasy points in those games alone, but he just scares me. He really does, like with the injury. So I have to just slot him down lower in my rankings because of that reason alone. So my top guy off the board for next season for running back, I honestly I think that I'd have to probably take either Kamara or would you say your top running back was
I still have CMC one. I would
CMC?
take Kamara two, Cook three, probably Derrick Henry four, and then you're
Yeah.
playing, Zeke Elliott,
Mm,
Saquon. If you want to get fancy, Devontae Adams. You know,
yeah.
if you want to go that route, but I'm always running back, running back. I don't like. I'd rather
Hmm.
you can find a receiver somewhere. Even in free
Yeah.
agency, even after
Yeah.
the
Late.
draft,
I
he has a
agree.
big game.
I agree completely with the whole running back strategy. You don't, I don't know anybody that can go like running back list in the first couple rounds and like come out of that okay. So, I mean, I have probably Kamara at the top of my list as the number one guy, followed by Delvin Cook, and then at three, I think I'd probably take a guy like Derrick Henry at three. I know that he doesn't get the passing work and that really does hurt his value. But the guy is just a monster. I mean, there's no denying that. So to me, he's a top three running back easily. At number four, this could be a pretty hard pick, but if you want to go with somebody that you think is going to produce for you, that you want to take a chance on, this is where I would slot in CMC at number four because he's good as well. I mean, he gets all the passing work, he gets the rushing work, and he scores touchdowns. And it's everything that you want in a running back. Um, like I said, injury concern there just kind of makes me slot him down a little further, but he's still like a top five guy in my opinion. Um, Number five, this one's probably the toughest position to draft in because, I mean, you could either go like, if you really want to go like, Devontae Adams here, or you want to go with maybe like a Travis Kelsey even, then you can like,
So
I mean, some people do it. I mean, let's be honest, some people do it, but you know, Kelsey's
maybe if
the
you're in a team league and you just want to jump on the tight end position, but yeah, that's a little far fetched though.
Kelsey is definitely a first round pick though. Would you agree with that?
No,
Okay. So we're in a disagreement here, okay? But that's okay because this is what, podcasts are meant to do, people to give their different points of view. The reason why I think Kelsey is a first round pick, maybe not number 5 overall, but he's for sure like a first round pick, maybe early second round on the, turnaround. The reason why is because he's been the best tight end for 5 straight seasons now, the top tight end over 1,000 yards each season. He's been producing. So with the way that tight ends are out there right now, like we talked about earlier, we have Waller, we have Kelsey, and we have Kittle when he's healthy. Now, if you don't get one of those guys, you're waiting until probably like the eighth, ninth round to draft the tight end, maybe even later than that. Now, if you can like, get that position right away like that within like the first round, end of first round, early second round, you don't have to worry about drafting a tight end later again. Now you can get maybe like a rookie, somebody that falls down the board as a rookie that maybe has potential, or another guy down the board that falls. But I mean, that's just my opinion. But anyways, the top number 5 guy, it has to be another running back for me. Um, like I said, I had Delvin Cook, Kamara, Henry, and I probably would maybe slot in Saquon Barkley in that spot. Um, I mean, he was drafted as a number 1 or 2 guy last season, and there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to come back and be fully healthy again. So we'll go with him as another as the top 5 guy. All right, good discussion there. Let's move on to the next question, though. The next question says, what is your favorite NFL team, your favorite player, and your favorite color? So you have the Bears, George Kittle, and the color blue. Um, I mean, it's pretty, straightforward with those answers here, unless you wanted to dive deeper into those answers at all.
I mean, I've been a Bears fan since I can remember. Unfortunately, I never saw sweetness or anything like that. But I've seen highlights of that. Always beat from probably about. I think he was drafted in like 78. I don't know if that's right or not, but obviously I've seen the 5 Super Bowl. Unfortunately, he didn't score, but and then going into when I really started watching football in like the 2000s with Brian Urlacher, guy gets drafted out of New Mexico. You're like, who the hell is that? He's a safety from New Mexico. What the hell are we drafting a a safety for it? And I think he was drafted 8 or 9 in that year. And dude, he didn't have a position under, Dick Duran, although that guy had no clue what he was doing either. So they finally found him and played from the middle. And then, a guy like Lovie Smith, who you said earlier, just came in and he was like the master of the cover two because he was a former, he played safety in college. Dude was like 6'4", 260, could run a 4.5, 4.6, and now he's in the Hall of Fame, man. So that's crazy. That Monsters of Midway, mentality at linebacker.
Right. I bet a lot of people ate their words when they look back at Brian Urlacher's career and saw what he did with the Bears and just were like, wow, we can't believe we missed on this guy. But yeah, great player indeed. So
it's the first round, man. The first round's a crapshoot. It's half of them are good and half of them are out of the league before their 4 years. So
yeah, and that's adding on to that, I totally agree with you when you say that because I mean, as a Bears fan, I've noticed that we've been doing really bad in the first couple rounds over the last couple years. And it seems like we've been hitting on most of our like later round picks, maybe third round to like 6th round. So when all these reports are coming out of like Deshaun Watson wanting out of Houston and obviously Houston wanting all these picks in return, why not give them like our first round pick for the next 2-3 years? Like we don't do good with it anyways. So what's the big deal?
I mean, the last time Ryan, I'm not a Ryan Pace fan, if you will, but the last time he drafted someone in the first round, talking about linebackers, it was Roquan Smith, and that dude should have been All Pro this year. He got snubbed. He didn't even make the Pro Bowl, and he had better numbers than all 3 All Pro linebackers this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not a sympathizer for Ryan Pace, but I mean, he's been all right as a GM. I mean, it hasn't been terrible, but going back to Watson, I mean, you're gonna have to wait for the dominoes to fall to see if Jimmy G. The Jets are gonna be the big team at 2 to figure out what they're gonna do at quarterback. If they go and take Fields or Wilson or heaven forbid Trevor Lawrence somehow ends up in New York for some for Urban Meyer taking Justin Fields or Zach Wilson or someone like that, which I don't see happening, but you never know.
Yeah.
But personally, I don't even think 2 ones in a player is going to get Deshaun Watson to Chicago. Because one, it's cap space, and you can't clear out all that cap space for $35-40 million, whatever he's getting paid a year. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I know, but I try to be optimistic as a Bears fan. That's just all we can do nowadays, to not give our hopes up every year. But I mean, if you do end up landing a guy like that, though, that's a franchise quarterback, and he's here for like 15 years. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy offseason. Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy offseason though, for sure. So, the next question is gonna be a 2-parter. So, I wanted you to number these guys from 1 to 5, who's most likely to win MVP for the NFL season. So we had Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Mahomes, Allen, and Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers. So you put Mahomes, Rodgers, Cook, Henry, Allen, and then for your fantasy MVP, you had Dalvin Cook. So just tell me a little bit about why you when you named Mahomes, are you're naming Mahomes as your MVP for the season, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about that because I felt like Mahomes kind of had a fallout towards the second half of the season. And it's not necessarily saying that he did really, really bad. It's just that his numbers weren't like really up there. And it's mainly because the Chiefs really didn't need to use him all that much. But still, for me, my MVP is probably Rodgers. I mean, he had like 50 total touchdowns this year, 3 rushing, 47 passing. I mean, all his numbers were ridiculous. He had a career high in like most of his stats. So, do you have any?
I mean, with Patrick Mahomes, I mean, that the dude is he's phenomenal. I mean, I don't know. I wish they would change, MVP to like most outstanding player. I don't know. And then with your other two guys, if you're running backs, it's just like the Heisman, and it's quarterback. It's a quarterback. It's award. That's all that it is, personally. So I mean, obviously, I'm going to put. Although who knows? I didn't even think Josh Allen was going to come out of nowhere, but which hopefully, he can. Patrick Mahomes plays, and Buffalo and Kansas City is a good game on Sunday, but and hopefully Mahomes, he can practice and everything's good. But the dude's a stud. I mean, it's you got guys like you can him and you can him and Rodgers and they can alternate Brady. They can alternate that award, and it doesn't mean anything personally, but because those guys want the team trophy, they don't want the individual trophy. But I mean, like you
Yeah,
said, I mean, you can alternate, Rodgers or Mahomes for this year. I mean, as a Bear fan, you can't give it to Rodgers because that's just not in your blood, unfortunately.
yeah, I understand that part of it, but so
And
going
with
going into the
Cook,
next,
Henry, I just their offensive year too, but or a more
so I was
complete year.
right, exactly. But yeah, I mean, it's not a bad pick at all, like by any means. Just that I wanted to get a little more of your insight on why you thought that Mahomes, was the MVP this year. So it makes a lot of sense, though. Your points make a lot of sense.
He was in yards, and he played one less game than everyone else too. He only played 15, I believe, because he sat out week 16 and 17. I think he played 16 a half, and then they pulled him for Chad Henne for week 17. I think he had like 4,800 yards, 38 touchdowns, six interceptions.
Yeah, that is true. Very true. I just think that I mean, I don't know. You can debate these guys like all the time, but I just think that Mahomes has more to deal with there. Like he has Kelsey and he has Hill and he had Clyde Edwards when he was healthy. Um he had like Sammy Watkins and these other guys around him where it's kind of like Rodgers only has like Devontae Adams and he has Aaron Jones as well, but mainly with the receiving core, it's mainly just Devontae Adams, really.
Oh,
If you
I mean,
think
I
about it.
get that. I mean, you take Aaron Rodgers off. Right now you take Aaron Rodgers off the Packers, and they're no better than the New York Jets.
Yeah, that's saying a lot too. Like the guy was just playing out of his mind
And
this year.
that 2 years ago, where I can't remember if it was Leonard Floyd or Khalil Mack in that first game with Khalil Mack as a Bear, and he came. Rodgers got hurt for a couple plays, and then
Right.
that I think Joshua Dobbs or someone like that was the quarterback, and then Khalil Mack just like took it from him and scored a touchdown, and then all of a sudden Aaron Rodgers comes out on painkillers and kicks our ass again because what else is new in Chicago? But it is what it is.
Yeah, I remember that he ripped it like right out of his hands. Yeah.
Yeah, he could that their backup quarterback situation is just a deer in the headlight. I mean, it gives you good faith that at least we have a backup. Granted, it's not what you want. You'd rather have the franchise quarterback. But, backup quarterback is also a nice position to have too.
Yeah, I agree. So moving on to the next subject, just going right into the matchups for Sunday. So we've got the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills, and we have um, the Bucks versus the Packers. So we'll go ahead and start with the Chiefs game. Who do you see coming out on top with this game?
Well, it all comes down to 15 and red can play. That's the big one.
Hmm.
I mean, it sounds like he's going to practice and he's going to play, and if that's the case, you got to roll with KC. I mean, hopefully, if you're in the betting game and you got the early line that came out with Mahomes not playing, I want to say Buffalo was favored by a point and he jumped all over that if you were a KC fan. But I think now the line's changed in Vegas to, I think it's 2.5 for Kansas City, but I still like Kansas City. I'd probably take the under in that game
Hmm.
too, but I don't know. I just see cold weather game and things like that, and I know the defenses might be around it. He might take a little easy with Kansas City, try to play a little bit more ball control with Mahomes too, but with you there, and low, but I'd still say KC's coming out on top at home. Home takes. I would still take the 2.5. If KC at least wins by a field goal.
Hmm. Yeah, it's it's going to be really tough for me to predict Buffalo to win this game. I mean, I love Josh Allen like as a player, and I love Stephon Diggs. They helped me win my championship this year in my other league on Monday Night Football. So I'm all about these guys, and they have that connection that you kind of see with like Rodgers and Adams. Not a lot of like quarterback receivers have that connection like they do. But with Mahomes healthy and Mahomes playing, and with Kansas City's like experience that they have already winning a Super Bowl, it's going to be really tough for me to get behind Buffalo. But my you know, the only way that Buffalo is going to be able to pull this out is if their defense really can get pressure on Mahomes. That's really the only way that they're going to be able to pull this out, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a great game, though. I honestly, I'm gonna. This Super Bowl is going to be very interesting, regardless of which teams make it. I mean, it's going to be watchable, not like 2 years
Yeah,
ago with the Rams and the Patriots.
their matchup, man. You're gonna have the young upstart quarterback versus the wily vet. Either scenario, but
Hmm.
you know
You could either
you'd like
have, yep,
the casual fan, with your team in the hunt, you'd like to see Buffalo get in too, but especially have someone new, but go up for a championship. But I don't know. I just think there's too much firepower in KC being at home. They're going to
mm,
have fans too, so that might make a little bit of a difference. But I just
yeah,
don't see Buffalo coming out of this one. I mean, only putting 17 on Baltimore. That it might be. I don't know if they can be in a shootout with KC if that's where it goes. If Mahomes plays, but for sure, if Mahomes doesn't play, I don't see Chad Henne beating Buffalo.
no, I
If that
definitely
ball
do not. Yeah,
turnover,
I def
that'll get
I
the
definitely don't
field.
see that either. No, not I don't see that at all either happening. If Mahomes is out, then Buffalo's definitely going to be winning that game. But I can see a shootout happening though if Mahomes is in there. I definitely can see that. Like, Josh Allen, if anybody can do it, he can do it. He can take that game into his own hands and throw some touchdowns to Diggs and you know no one else really. Well, Beasley, I guess you could say. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that, to both matchups. And then the other matchup with the Bucks and the Packers. Who do you got in that one?
Yeah, I mean, part of me wants to say, go with Green Bay because maybe they'll light a fire under Chicago to do something. But I know Rodgers has gotten his, and he wants to go and kind of almost stick it to the organization too, because they, drafted Jordan Love and all that stuff in the second round last year. But,
Yeah.
man, Tom Brady, 43 years old, coming out of nowhere. He's got weapons. Depending if AD's healthy this weekend with that knee injury, it sounded like he avoided, catastrophe at least to potentially have, suit up on Sunday too. But I don't know. For me, it's like the two worst teams that I don't like, going up against one another. It's a pick-up game. Tom Brady, man, that dude can come out of nowhere, be down 24-3 or whatever, 28-3, and come out and still beat you. But it's also weird too that it's Aaron Rodgers' first home NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
One, who he has that one win against. So I don't know.
It's true.
I almost like the underdog in Tampa Bay on the road. They've gotten 2 road playoff wins already against Washington football team and New Orleans. And, Brady can play in cold weather. I don't know. I just with Green Bay, I don't know if that O line can hold. I mean, they did well against the Rams, but without Aaron Donald in there, but it sounds like Vita Vea is going to be activated after IR, so that might help them slow down the running game too if it's cold out there as well at Lambeau.
Mm.
I'll probably take the underdog in Tampa, getting me a Brady versus Mahomes Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm taking Tampa here too. I mean, and it's not my bias because I'm a Bears fan. I want to see Rodgers lose. That's not why I'm taking Tampa. I'm taking them for all the same reasons that you're taking Tampa, because Brady plays good in the cold. He's the underdog. It's gonna light more fire inside of him. He's 43 years old. He has something to prove still. So he's going to come out there firing on all cylinders. He has a ton of offensive weapons. If they can, Green Bay's defense, rush defense was not very good on the season. If Tampa Bay can come out and establish the run early on, then look out, because they're going to jump up to a lead. Brady's going to throw 4 or 5 touchdowns, and then they're just going to run all over him to close the game out. So
take the under for this game too. If it's going to be snowing and cold there, I don't know. I see more of a close game, more like a 23-20, something like that, where they're kicking a field goal late. And I don't see this game being a shootout as much as the second game. But
well, yeah, no, I mean, I don't personally see it being a shootout. What I'm saying is that, like, I think that Brady can seriously start hot and maybe throw 3 touchdowns, like, right off the bat, and then put them up big, and then just basically run all over them, because Green Bay's rush defense, was not very great on the season. So, if they end up doing that, they'll put them in a tough position.
2 touchdowns against them because they beat them by 4 possessions. 38-10 or something like that.
Yeah.
6, something like that when they face each other. So.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers had 3 losses in the season. One of them was to the Bucs, but they kind of really beat them really bad. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. But yeah, and say the least, like, I think it's going to be a really good Super Bowl though, and it's going to be watchable. So definitely. So yeah, the last thing that I wanted to do today with you was the Fantasy Pros Perfect Draft. So I don't know if you ever heard of this, but the Fantasy Pros website has this this thing on there. It's called the Perfect Draft. So what it is that when you sign in with an account, you just basically go in there and you pick a position to draft in, and you draft a team. You redraft a team from last year. So basically, they rate you on the players that you get. So, for instance, Calvin Ridley came off the board in like the 4th or 5th round as a receiver. They want you to get him there, or get him later, to get the most value out of him. Now, like, for a player like James Robinson, James Robinson finished, I think, maybe number 4 or number 5 overall for running back, but he was undrafted in most leagues. He fell like really far. So if you get him where he was ranked, back all the way back, you get more points for that. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm gonna let you go to the website right now. It's the fantasy. If you type it in Google, it's just Fantasy Pros Perfect Draft. Just go to the website there. Once you get there and you're ready to pick your spot, just share your screen with me. That way you can go through it when you start drafting. So the way that this works is that they're going to give you a minute on the clock for each pick. So it's, you have some time to talk about the pick that you want to do or that what you're looking for there. But keep in mind, a minute does go pretty fast. So the first couple rounds go pretty fast as well. I mean, you kind of know based on the position that you're going to draft at who you want or who you're looking for at that position. There should be a search bar on the top where you can type in the player's name there and search for them to find them really fast, so you don't have to go through the whole list. But my score, let me see if I could pull it up. So I had done this only one time, and I believe my score was, I want to say it was like 5,500. I have to see if I could pull it up because let me see. Here it is. I think this is it right here. So yeah, it's based on like a scale of like, I guess, 1,500 to 3,000. So my score was 2,509, so 2,509. And it says that I was ranked as the bottom 24 percentile. So I guess it wasn't as great as I wanted it to be, but I mean, it's, in my opinion, I think I did pretty well for only doing it one time. I hadn't tried it again yet since, so just kind of interested to see what everybody else can do. So you got it pulled up yet, Jeremy?
I don't know if I can share it on the.
Does it let you share your screen or no? Or I mean, if you wanted, we could I could share my screen and go in there, and then you can draft the position you wanted to do, and then go through it from my screen if that works better for you.
It's not asking me to create an account, even though I have a fantasy pros account.
Oh, it's making you create an account?
Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah. I should have probably told you that beforehand. Yeah, it does make you create an account if you don't already have one. So that's fine. I'll give you a few more minutes to do that. It's perfectly okay.
Here we go. Does it matter which slot I should draft in?
I mean, wherever you feel comfortable drafting. Like if you want to draft from the position that you drafted from in one of your leagues, maybe by all means. So real quick though, what do you think of the Eagles firing Doug Peterson?
The old coach is easier to replace than a player. Although it sounds like they're going to move on from Carson Wentz too.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that they're going to after firing him because it just seemed like, you know, he didn't really want to play hurts. I mean, at the end of the season, when you bench your guy, you bench your potential like franchise quarterback in Hurts to basically, I don't know, just give up the game. I know they had nothing really to play for, but that was kind of a mistake in my opinion. And obviously, the Eagles thought it too because they ended up letting Peterson go after the season was over. But all right, so we are looking at Jeremy's screen right now.
So
So
I
he's
started
gonna.
from the fifth pick in, in
All
our
right,
league. I can double check that.
so I got that Bleacher Report right there too. So it looks like he's gonna draft from the 5th position. So whenever you're ready, man, you want to go ahead and do it.
I'm not sure I have it in our league. I think it was. Yeah. All right.
All right. So Jeremy's going from the 5th spot. So let's see. So right here we got Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Delvin Cook. Who'd you pick right there, Delvin Cook?
No, it's well, because I had Dalvin Cook first, so everything's pretty much shot from our league that we had this year. So I took Cook. Camaro went sixth in our league. I'm looking at draft results here now.
Yeah,
But
Kamara fell. Delvin Cook fell. I mean, their contracts were in question to start the season, so naturally they fell down the board. But I mean, now you know like what they did based on what they did is where you're gonna be picking. So, are you going Cook or Kamara here?
you know what? I might actually change my pick that I actually had in our league this year and bypass Jeff Cook, and I'll probably go with Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, I think they liked it. I think that was a great pick right there. Kamara over Cook to me is the better value there. So you're on the clock again here. The second pick, number 20th overall. Who are you looking at here?
My boy George Kittle, Travis Kelsey, even perfect pros or even perfect draft man still has Travis Kelsey available, and that's what this is the 16th spot now. So my boy Aaron Jones is long gone from my second round pick in this year's draft. So we got guys like
Most of the uh, most of the running backs are already probably gone. Um, most of them at this point. But
all running backs. They're really not there. It might go against what I normally do, but you know what? I'm gonna go Patrick Mahomes in this spot. I think because that's probably the best player available.
okay. Yeah, right there. I mean, it's not bad. Like Mahomes was good, obviously, like I said, but in my opinion, like waiting on quarterback is better. You can get Josh Allen in like the 5th or 6th round, Kyler Murray in the 5th or 6th, even Deshaun Watson. Those guys finished as like top 5 QBs. And Aaron Rodgers was slotted all the way down there as well. But for me, like in that situation, I might have gone maybe like Travis Kelsey. I know you said that you didn't really want to go that high on the tight end, but if Kelsey is there in the 2nd round like that, that's like a for sure. Uh, I'm pulling the trigger on that one. But you can't go wrong with Mahomes there though. He gives you value. So
Looking at running backs, Todd Gurley didn't really do a whole lot. James Conner didn't really do a whole lot.
nah, none of those
And
guys.
there's one guy though that I see he was soft at the end of the year, but Jonathan
Got
Taylor, man, that's
8
a pick that
seconds.
he's gonna be good next year.
Yep. They liked it. Yeah, I like that Jonathan Taylor pick right there. That's really good. When I did this, I believe I got Jonathan Taylor as well, in the 3rd round. So yeah, that was a really good pick there. He finished, I think, as a top 5 running back, believe it or not. So, and he had a slow start to the season too. But with that offensive line in Indy there, next year I think he's gonna be really good. And if they give him more passing work, he'll be a lot better as well.
But I got my two
So,
running backs, got my quarterback. It's time for a receiver. So I see guys like
mhm.
AJ Brown, not big a fan of. Terry McLaurin, he's a good possession guy. DJ Chark, too many injuries, but there's another two initial guy that's down here. DK Metcalf. I think that's where we're going to go in round 4.
Yeah, DK. Yeah, DK Metcalf was a good pick. I believe he finished as a top 5 wide receiver on the season. He fell off a little bit towards the end of the season, but I think it's mainly because Russell Wilson stopped cooking. He really didn't throw the ball a whole lot towards the second half of the season. They seemed like they wanted to establish the run more towards the later half of the season. But when Russell Wilson is cooking and when he's throwing the ball, Metcalf is definitely a top option.
And then, so we got
So
wide
right
receivers.
here,
We got, I don't really like Waller there at that spot.
hmm,
T.Y. Hilton was down. David Montgomery had a heck of he was winning guys some championships towards the end of the year. I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs at this spot.
yep, I really love that pick right there. Stephon Diggs in the 5th round. He brought back so much value for guys that got him in that round or later. He finished as the number 2 overall wide receiver on the year, next to Devontae Adams. So that was a great pick right there. And obviously they loved it too. So right here,
Round 6.
let's see.
Maybe down here round 6. So,
So you got your quarterback, you got your
most
running back, yeah, you got a
all
receiver. So after this pick here too, I want to maybe just see if you can give us a breakdown of your team thus far once you make this pick here.
I'm gonna probably go David Montgomery. I mean, there was a lot of value there, and he had a monster second half.
Yep, that was a good pick, David Montgomery in the 6th round. All right,
So,
so let's see your team so far.
so quarterback, you've got Patrick Mahomes, running back with Jonathan Taylor and Alvin Kamara, with David Montgomery as the flex, the wide receivers, DK
Mhm.
Metcalf, Stephon Gilmore, going into pick number
Wow,
7.
wow,
7.
Metcalf, and you got Metcalf, Diggs. Wow, you got Kamara, David Montgomery, Jonathan Taylor, Mahomes. I mean, that is a pretty good team thus far.
Now, you got other quarterbacks DeAndre. There's still some good quarterbacks there. You can potentially get another one later there. But Tyler Higbee had a down year. Hunter Henry had a down year. I'm going to go Ronald Jones. I'm going to keep going with the Ronald Jones was a touchdown machine early on in the season to keep him on the bench there.
Yeah, I did take Ronald Jones in that spot too, I believe. So he held the most value in that round, in my opinion. So I couldn't pass up on him either. So are you going tight end here? Maybe backup quarterback? What are you looking towards right here?
So round 8, I mean, I always like my depth at running back and wide receivers. You try to get as much as you can because you never know what injuries are going to happen.
Hmm.
Um, there's a tight end that I haven't seen yet that's coming up on
Or
the
uh,
board.
or a worldwide pandemic is going to happen. That too makes you want depth.
I'm not seeing a whole lot. I mean, we had this discussion earlier of Mahomes and Rodgers. You know, there's a lot of value there with Aaron Rodgers, or so I'm gonna go there for a backup quarterback.
Yep, I like that. I like that a lot.
Potentially,
Because you obviously need Rodgers for later in the season when Mahomes didn't play or sat out a couple of those games, and you obviously need him when Mahomes was on his bye in Week 10 as well. So you know that was a good pick. So Mahomes and Rodgers as his quarterbacks. He's got Stephon Diggs. He's got EK Metcalf. He has David Montgomery, Alvin Kamara. He has Ronald Jones on his bench and Jonathan Taylor. So, pretty good team so far.
Honestly, my defense for later, if I can.
Your defenses are all the same.
TJ Hawkinson, who I picked up, I think on waivers in our league. I mean, if someone drops TJ Hawkinson on his bye, on a tight end replacement, thinking, and then he just tore it up for until playoff time came around. But
yeah, he was a good tight end this year. Like I said, there's a bunch of guys out there that are touchdown dependent, like we talked about, and they could just throw in there like based on matchup. But if anything, I would say Hawkinson kind of was a little more consistent than most of those other guys. Next to Waller and Kittle when he's healthy, and Kelsey. And you took Justin Jefferson with that last pick.
Yeah, that dude was a stud, was setting all kinds of, for sure, Minnesota rookie records. And there's a Hall of Famer in Randy Moss, and he was breaking his records. So that dude looks like he's going to be a stud there.
That was a great pick right there. Like I was looking on your screen as you were picking like for the 9th round, and I saw Jefferson there, and I was just thinking to myself like maybe he should go grab him this round. Like I don't know if he's going to be coming back to you, but he ended up making it back there in the next round. So great value in the 10th round there.
See my guy who again I picked up on waivers in week 2, Mr. Running Back James Robinson in the 11th round.
Yep, a top running back out there, or number 4 running back overall in the season. Most of the time undrafted in most leagues, not even actually an undrafted rookie by the Jaguars too. So I'm interested to see what the Jaguars do with him next year, though. I mean, they're going to have obviously a brand new coach, Urban Meyer, coming in. If they take Trevor Lawrence, their offense is going to be a whole lot better with Trevor Lawrence. But do they keep, James Robinson? Like, are they going to sign him? Like, give him a deal? Like, are they going to try Ozigbo out? Like, I'm really interested to see what happens to that running back core next year.
My pick. I don't like to pick defense until the very end, but I see Buffalo still out there. If I can grab them before. No, they are. There they are. I get them. I got them. It's just, I'm looking for Chase Edmonds there too, but he's a better running back. And don't let Kenyon Drake fool you. That franchise tag that they put on him last year was a mistake.
What is this, the 13th round? So is this the last pick, or is there like one more?
I don't know if there's one more or not, because there's a kicker in this league. So let's see what we have left here. 30 seconds. Michael Pittman Jr. Justin Jackson went to my high school. So that might be a homer pick there. Brian Edwards, I picked him in our league. That was a mistake. He couldn't stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore Browns. Mike Gesicki had a monster year. Might take him as a backup tight end to Hawkinson.
Gesicki wasn't that bad. He had one like really bad game, I think, where he like goose egg. But other than that, like towards the second half of the season, with Tua in there, he was pretty good.
We got a quarterback. That's good.
And I'm really interested to see what score you get, though. I mean, so far you're looking really good. I think that for sure that you're gonna beat my score. I don't think there's any way possible that you don't beat my score. Someone like someone like that would be a good pick. He had a pretty good rookie season, but
yeah, he really fell off when Burrow got hurt, though.
he did. I mean, you know, to go from Burrow to Finley. I mean, obviously, you're gonna fall off too. If even if it was like somebody like I don't know, Stefan Diggs or one of those good guys, they go from like Rodgers to the backup. I don't think they're gonna be that great either. But I like Higgins for next season though. If Burrow can come back healthy, I think
Yeah,
that he'll be really
I
good.
don't know with Tyler Boyd or AJ Green looks like they'll probably move on too.
Yeah, AJ Green is, in my opinion, I don't like to say a guy's like washed, but he's done. I think like his just had too many injuries to overcome. I think his career is pretty much done. Kind of seemed like kind of seemed like T Higgins take over last year. Okay. 25-31. So your score is 25-31. So you did beat me. Mine was 25-09. So you did beat me by by a slight margin. But go ahead and run through your team really quickly if you can. You have to give you don't have to give each round or anything. Just read off like the players, the whole team that you drafted.
We got Mahomes and Rodgers at our quarterback. Bottom 29. We have my top player was Alvin Kamara at running back. That was my number one pick. And then steals were DK Metcalf. I drafted him as the wide receiver 19, and he finished at wide receiver 6. And then Ronald Jones was the RB 30 drafted, and he finished at RB 16. A whole bunch of sleepers on the team.
Yeah, I seen you got Chase Claypool as well, so that was a good pick late on as well.
Looks like I didn't have that second defense. That was my downfall. But
no, but I mean he still did something for fantasy purposes, and like it's not like he's gonna be your starting like receiver or anything like that. So it's a good pick still.
I think he started as a wide receiver 4 for Pittsburgh, and then that dude he had like 7 or 8 touchdowns in 3 weeks. That was crazy what he was doing.
Right, he had like over 30 fantasy points in like 2 back-to-back games and like 2 touchdowns or some crazy stuff.
And then drops like 6 or 7 or something like that to end the year. It's crazy.
Yep. All right, man. Well, you can stop sharing your screen if you wanted to. But yeah, I just wanted to basically thank you again for coming on today. I had a really good time talking some football with you, and I definitely would like to have you back on again sometime soon. So I really appreciate you for joining me, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right, man. Well, have a good night, man. Take it easy, and I will see you and talk to you later. All right, everybody. That was Jeremy that joined us for that podcast. This is Chuck. And like I said, I am the host of this podcast, the SSFFL podcast. Thank you for joining me again today. And I will definitely be coming back with another podcast soon. We have a special guest coming on next time when we roll out the next podcast. He's a very, very close friend and person to me in my life. So stay tuned for that next episode next week. Thanks for joining me again, guys. Have a great day.